Hey everybody, this is Perch, and what's going on with Valiant is not something we've said much lately, but 2022, Valiant is marking it as a year of Valiant. So 2022 will be 10 years since its return to publishing in 2012. And Valiant, I mean, we don't need to go through the whole history of Valiant. I have gone through the whole history of Valiant. That video's out there. You can go check it out. But in 2020, Valiant started to stumble a decent amount, and some launches pulled back. There was some people who left the company. There was questions about what was going on with their office. It seemed to be up for lease, but nobody was taking it. Granted, when COVID's going on, why are you paying for an expensive, I think it was Midtown, right? Office in New York? Like, who's doing that anymore? Why are you doing that? But regardless, Valiant is announcing Year of the Valiant in 2022. And what all this basically means is that it's a year-long marketing campaign or celebration of the publisher that will feature new launches, new writers, new artists, new creators who haven't been part of the company in the past, return of fan favorites / characters that have been used in movies and have some recognition, new superhero teams, and then this kind of vague, characters being explored beyond traditional publishing methods, which almost invariably means web content, digital content, NFTs, that whole bag of things that people are trying to figure out. So there is a new promotional image from Tyler Kirkham, which is it features the Valiant cast we more or less know, with a lot of the characters, everything from Shadow Man to Ninjak to Faith is on there. There's just the characters that we've come to know. And basically, it looks like in January, the first kickoff will be the return of Shadow Man. Now, here's where, there's a lot of people who are going to, I don't want to say clown, but they'll make fun of this announcement. But I got to hand Valiant this. So they're announcing Year of the Valiant. They're announcing a big kind of restart to their publishing plans and everything else. And the kickoff is issue 5 of Shadow Man. And the part that I want to just tip my hat to, they didn't go for the obvious and easy, let's call it Shadow Man #1. They're continuing with the numbers. It's Cullen Bunn's series with Pedro Andreu. And it is the first chapter of Dead Side War. But if this was another publishing company, they would have rebranded it as a new #1, and they absolutely would have gone all this. So it's a little thing, but there's some love to comic fans. It's a little thing. It's a silly thing, but it gave me at least a nice feeling there. So Shadow Man #5 comes out January 19th, 2022. As mentioned, it's the first chapter of Dead Side War, which Valiant is describing as an epic horror storyline that will feature the return of Punk Mambo and other Valiant Universe familiar faces from within the Valiant Universe. Yeah, that's kind of obvious with the Valiant Universe familiar faces from within the Valiant Universe to explore the new Valiant Universe. Cool. Somebody likes that phrase. SEO doesn't require that you repeat the same phrase over and over, just saying. But we are getting some, as you mentioned, some other things. We're getting Shadow Man remastered, original graphic novels, prose novels, and then lots of hints about digital. There's also it goes into a little bit more of the Shadow Man storylines they're getting. We're seeing blights, tears in the fabric of reality between our world and the dead side, opening with increased frequency and increased supernatural mayhem. Cullen Bunn says of the Dead Side War story arc in the announcement. Shadow Man is tasked with protecting our world, but he's no longer sure that throwing punches and swinging skies is the way to combat the Dead Side's ultimate plans. Well, if he's losing, then yeah, probably punching him doesn't make sense. But anyway, Punk Mambo will make the debut. We are also, it says, more announcements about the Year of Valiant in the coming months, with senior editor Lysa Hawkins teasing the return of a redacted classified character to the Valiant Universe, along with Faith in the Harbinger series and the aforementioned Punk Mambo in Shadow Man. So this is what they're after. They want to build on the incredible legacy of the original 90s comics and the 2012 reboot, stellar characters who encompass many different types of stories, and the tightest and most accessible shared universe in comics. Okay. And we're bringing new creators, new characters, concepts, titles, and of course, a return of fan favorites. Basically, we're going to do everything. Things that you saw before? Yes. Things you haven't seen before? Yes. Creators you know, creators you don't know. it's all here. Anyway, this is a grab bag of a press release that's here. But how else are you going to write it? What are you going to do? So now the question becomes, what do you want Valiant to be in comics? What does it make sense? We had the Summer of Valiant. The time they're referencing here is in 2012. They had the Summer of Valiant, which won them Publisher of the Year. They had Book of the Year at the Diamond Gem Awards. They actually set sales records for themselves. They were most nominated publisher in 2014, 15, and 16. And they had what they are dubbing the biggest selling independent crossover event of the decade with Book of Death, which is absolutely inaccurate. That was not the big. I mean, by no sales metric was it the biggest selling crossover event of the decade, but it sold well. Like, you don't have to be the biggest to sell well, but there were certainly many other things. Particularly, I mean, maybe it has to do with how you're defining these terms, but definitely, Image had plenty of bigger things. But maybe they're not. Maybe that's not an independent company. Who knows how they're doing all this kind of stuff. Obviously, Valiant has a long history. That dates back to Jim Shooter's exit from Marvel, where Shooter basically formed Voyager Communications. This became Valiant, the imprint. You had Barry Windsor Smith, Bob Layton putting in some of the best work of their lives. I mean, back in '91, you had Magnus Robot Fighter, Solar Man of the Atom. Both those characters almost certainly will show up here in some form or some fashion, I would think. But they did very well. And then the 90s kind of truck hit it. They got, I think, two in over their skis a little bit with Acclaim and kind of the video game licenses. And when Acclaim filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, that hurt a lot of the effort and the push that they had put in there. And so, the rights to a lot of these characters, Archer and Armstrong, Ray, Quantum and Woody, were auctioned off. And this led to Dinesh, who came in, who raised financing to kind of reboot things. They rehired Jim Shooter in 2007 to write some new short stories, and they made a good run of it. So this is where they built up to this 2012 event. Once again, they did some good. Had some good creative people on there. Robert Venditti was there. Casey Nord was there. Dwayne Skrzynski. There were a bunch of people in there who made some real noise with Valiant. Seemed to be back on the upswing again. Unfortunately, I think once more, and this is that other video. It did seem to not collapse in on itself. I mean, they went really hard into Faith. That doesn't sound right. Back in 2016, and it got media interest, but it didn't necessarily bring sales. That's one of those interesting pieces. People often point to Faith being a sales smash hit, but it really wasn't. Faith struggled. It got a lot of media attention, but it was one of the first examples of what we would see of media attention not necessarily translating to cash. So when Valiant, DMG acquired full ownership of Valiant back in 2018, this would, they did restructuring, out goes Dinesh, and then they did this deal with Vin Diesel and Bloodshot, which I think had the, disservice of coming out at a bit of an awkward time and also being overshadowed by a lot of things Disney was doing. They then went through a massive revolving door of talent and people in there, people being hired in, people going out, just constant flood of in and out. They brought in Heather Antos, kind of recruiting her back from after she had left in comics. Then Heather Antos leaves. Like a year later? It didn't take long. Anyway, you had a lot of turnover. And now the company's trying to right the ship again, to some extent. And that's what we've got here. So Year of the Valiant, very bold. We had Summer of Valiant back in 2012. Now we're getting Year of Valiant, which the cynical part of you could say, undoubtedly, a lot of this has to do with the fact that they are going to take their time. They're not going to be able to do a big comic media blitz at this point. They're going to have to take some real time in order to get these comics back up and out. And that's a year to do that with. How will it work? I mean, if they focus on putting out good stories and just try to deliver step by step, that probably can work. If don't get too clever about it, just focus on one step at a time. And it's good to see companies return. It's good to see stuff come back. Will customers go for it? Will they pick it up? Ball's in their court. We'll see. So what about you? Are you going to pick it up? What's it going to take for you to jump into Valiant again, or for the first time? What's going to excite you? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.